Hey guys, me again with another... Okay, weird. There was just a weird glitch thing down here. Me again with another YouTube video. Today we're going to be taking a look at something pretty cool. This is the start to John Wick's SIG MPX from John Wick Chapter 3. I personally haven't seen John Wick Chapter 3. I literally just watched chapters 1 and 2 the other day using a VPN and then through Netflix while I was at the hospital waiting on my dad to get done with the procedure. So I haven't gone and seen chapter 3 yet, but I've heard so much really cool things about his MPX and what he exactly does with it in the series. So I went ahead and I personally decided to sit down and make my own version of it. So I already have a really good base MPX Master Edition version that I made for a competition that Christopher Hopman was doing. So it has all the regular features that you would find in my Master Edition model in updated lower receiver, basically. So what you see here is the start of the process. This takes the MPX SD Master Edition version that I had, and we started to kind of adjust things to match the aesthetics of John Wick's MPX. So you can see that on this particular model, we started with the flared magwell down here. This little extension down here is just the flaring. There's a custom magazine. It's a 41 round the magazine because it has this little extension on it, and it's also got these pretty I don't know, I guess they're tactical. I guess they're for grip or something, but there's this texture on the side of the magazine that I also want to duplicate as well. So this is kind of where we started, is just in this particular area. So then moving forward, I can't, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so let's start that way. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm messing with all the pictures. Okay, it's this one, then this one. All right, sorry. This is kind of where we ended entirely. This is my own take on it. John Wick doesn't actually have rails going all the way down his, but I did want to see what the rifle looked like with rails entirely around it, so I did put rails entirely around it. I'm kind of iffy on it and whatnot. And then we need to also talk about the paint scheme when we get there. So after we did our lower receiver modifications, I then went on to doing the upper receiver modifications. So for John Wick's, the upper receiver modifications come down to, he has a custom carbon fiber handguard on this with M-lock rail attachment points going down it on top, the sides, and the bottom. So it was pretty important to get that down pretty accurate. So you can see that these are actually ovals, and we used arch bricks and sideways building and studs down on top throughout most of this. He also has a custom muzzle break on the end of this. Pretty easy to make, not too difficult, to be honest with you. You can also see the start of our buffer tube system going on back here. So this is a standard M4 buffer tube that I've had forever and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty simple stuff. There's just a Technic rod that goes through the majority of this to stabilize it and attach it to the weapon, along with a couple bracket pieces on the back of the receiver. Going forward, then I went for the more accurate paint job. I personally think that this one looks a lot better, but this uses the rubber black, not the shiny black that you see. And then this portion of the handguard is a speckle silver black. You can see in the images of the actual gun itself on Terran Tactical's website, he's got like a skateboard tape almost on the end of this foregrip to kind of help with grip. And I wanted to replicate that using the speckle black with the silver in it, and of course it came out silver in this. I don't particularly know why, it just did. At this point, we also came back through and redesigned our pistol grip because it does have the finger grooves in it. This is a more custom pistol grip. And we also designed a custom charging handle because it does use a more tactical looking charging handle than the normal SIG MPX. And this version, you can finally see that we finished the stock. It's a pretty basic stock from what I've been able to see. There's really nothing to it in terms of really anything. Like I said, it's just like this basic plastic stock. So that's what's going on here. And then we finally started to add the Trilogy MRO, I think is the sign on this. I forget. I literally just made this gun and still forgot. But this is also on top of the weapon here. And then after this, we went into getting the laser sight built on this gun. It's a laser sight weapon-like combo. The interesting part that I find about this thing is that it's mounted so far back. He's got all these M-lock positions here that he can mount this as far forward as possible, and it ends up way back here. And I think the more interesting part about this is that it does actually sit in front of the Trilogy MRO, so it does kind of block just a little bit the sight picture that this is able to give you. This, I went for the more accurate kind of look to the movie with the all matte black finish, basically, other than down here. That was a mistake in my part. But the reason I have a two-tone finish here is to just kind of show off a lot of the detail that's going on here. This black does not translate a lot of detail really well. You can barely see the circles going on here, but if you come over to this one, you can see there's actually two different sets of angles here, not just one. When you come over here, it almost looks like one, so it just kind of looks better with the two-tone to be able to kind of identify shadows a little bit easier and see all the changes. So that's the reason that in some of these pictures there's a two-tone, and in others it's a dark. So that be that. That said, we can get into the actual Sig Sauer MPX from John Wick Chapter 3. So this is pretty basic stuff at this point. Not a whole lot to go over really. So at the front, we do have the muzzle brake that they have. It's a pretty standard muzzle brake. It's not really complicated. This is held together using Technic pins and a Technic axle. Pretty simple stuff. We have our handguard. This is built as a free float handguard. You can see the barrel going all the way down in the front of the bolt just a little bit. This uses upside down techniques and brackets to mount cheese slopes down here to get an angle, and then all of this going on up here. That's all sorts of different complicated mess going on back and forth, but in the end we get these really nice M-lock attachment holes on top and bottom going all the way around. It's really nice. If I had one gripe, it's that I would actually change these tops and bottom ones for the one side wide M-lock instead of the two side wide, but you can't tell from this type of angle down here, so it doesn't bother me all too much. Another change that we added was this TLR8, I think is the sight. It's on Terran Tactical's website, but it's a weapon light, which is this bottom part, and then it's a laser sight, which is this top part. It's for pistols, actually, and then they mounted it up here, which is interesting. Again, I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if he actually uses this or not, but it is present on the gun, so I did want to feature it. We also have a Trilogy MRO, I believe. This is actually designed to this tire piece, because people are probably looking at it going, huh, how does that work? It's actually designed to fit on using a rubber band. It's kind of a cheeky practice, but it would work. Same thing with these back here. Pretty simple stuff, really. It's just brackets built on the side and whatnot. This dial up here does turn. It's a friction fit turn, it's not a turntable. And then same thing with the gear down here. So you can mount or unmount it as you deem necessary. We have, again, the more tactical charging handle. Getting the small little angle that's open here was pretty difficult, but you can see I settled for the use of doors. Pretty simple stuff, to be honest. Not exactly too hard. We do have the bolt carrier group in gold, as it is seen in the movie. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. This is interesting. I don't know what happened here. I must have deleted something and then not put it back like I should have, but you can see part of our bolt catch mechanism going on here, our ambidextrous magazine release mechanism going on here, and the safety and fire selector and whatnot. We have our flared magwell going around the trigger guard over this way and then around the front. Pretty simple stuff. And then it goes up into the magwell. Magwell's 3 studs wide to accept a 3-stud wide magazine, which you can see here, 1, 2, 3. And again, this has the circle details going on throughout it, with the mag extension down at the bottom to fit a 41 round magazine. Pretty cool stuff. Again, we modified the grip just ever so slightly to include the finger grooves 1 and 2. Pretty simple stuff, not too difficult. And then we added our custom buffer tube on the back end. You can see it's a perfect circle here, as it's seen in the pictures. There's a square part where it attaches to the receiver, a perfect circle here, and then you actually get into the buffer tube, which is actually just a little bit smaller than this. So if we take and hide all of this, you can see that this is just ever so slightly smaller, but pretty basic stuff. As for John Wick's SIG MPX, that's pretty much it. This was a pretty cool, fun project to work on. So far, I've loved both John Wick's 1 and 2, so hopefully I get out to the cinema soon so I can take a look at John Wick Chapter 3 and actually get to see this thing in action. I've heard from my different username in history regarding this that he actually has magazines taped together. I haven't seen that in any promotional images or anything, but hopefully if I do go see the movie, I can actually add that in as a feature going on here. Or if any of you have seen the movie and would like to go ahead and enlighten me on that, I would really appreciate that, because I do really like this weapon. It just has this super cool look to it. That's the magazine being a 41 round magazine. It's almost like Ella's Scorpion Evo from Rainbow Six Siege, having the custom extension and stuff like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to comment and subscribe for more videos similar to this one. I will see you guys later in another YouTube video. Thanks for watching.